Dear listener,
Welcome back to another episode of Pen Pals by Pam.
and Arshita. Now, today we're going to be talking about our experiences sustaining relationships in this part of our lives, what has worked and what hasn't worked out.
And to that, we wanted to first talk about what are some current relationships we have right now, and has it always been like that? I think, Arshita, if you'd like to start.
Yeah, I would say where I'm at with my life, I have relationships with my close family. I have a group of like five or six friends that I made during grad school, Pam included. I would say like two or three from my undergraduate. These are people I'm like very close with. I have some acquaintances. Oh, I have one of my friends is getting married and like her and her bridal party are very like close to me. Um and then like I have friends that I was a lot closer with that like I would love to see them. We just haven't caught up in a very long time, so there's that. Obviously I have the colleagues that I work with. I have actually a very very strong group of like co-fellows in this program I'm in, which like I've only really met them for like 3 days, but we're very close for that time that we spent together. And then I think I would say I have like a good number of like coaches and teachers in my life thanks to my classes. I think that would wrap up a lot of my relationships.
I was gonna say, there's a lot of relationships. You have me thinking of mine as I'm like, wait, what relationships do I have? I mean, also to follow family relationships for sure, familial. I was gonna say my cousins, but I consider them like friends, but they really are family. Apart from family, I would say undergrad, one good group that we keep consistent, like with, consistently, in touch with one another. We try to do I would say like activities and such. From there, I have what is it? Arshita is definitely part of my really close relationships. Relationship I value dear and near to my heart. Apart from Arshita, other individuals, I'm like thinking on top of my head. I'm like, who do I keep in touch with? I actually do have what I would say friendships from high school as well. Some people that have turned up in my life just out of the blue, but those relationships as well, acquaintances or some mutual friends that I've been able to then grow as well, have a deeper bond. I'm trying to think. Colleagues for sure at work, but we will get into that too. I would say relationships with the community that I volunteer with. So that relationship with like my mentees and not only my mentees, but also my coordinator, my program coordinator. From there, I would say, apart from, I mean, my relationship has been one, but I consider him like he's like family in a way too, but yes, I would say that's another relationship. Trying to think, even with professors, there's one professor in particular because I love her. Oh my gosh, I could rave about her, I think, in just an episode alone. Yes, I want to say those probably will sum up my relationships for right now at the moment. But I also wanted to talk about, I guess, like Arshita, how have you always had these relationships? And yeah, we'll start there.
I would say I don't think I was like a mature friend when I was younger.
Mm,
And I think that a lot of my relationships lacked like it lacked that, and because of that it lacked proximity.
mm.
And so where I feel very grateful to have the friends and family that I do now, it wasn't always like that. There's a reason, like I was listening to you list off your relationships. I didn't really stay in touch with a lot of people from high school. The one friend that I have from like before college was my childhood friend from second grade. So that's a little different. I think back to particularly my first 2 years of undergraduate. I only stayed in touch with like two or three of those people, which was obviously complicated. I had a lot to like some of the extracurriculars that I did for those first 2 years that I didn't continue into the next two.
Hmm.
But yeah, I would say hasn't always been like this, partially because of my own approach to relationships and my maturity, my security in those relationships, and partially because I don't think I've had like a very strong and healthy group of friends until now. And I think both of those things tie into each other. It was a mix of, in other words, yeah, it was a mix of like my personality and how I was showing up in these relationships, and some of these people's
Yeah.
motivations to be in a relationship with me.
I mean, navigating relationships are difficult. I would say when you bring up proximity, especially, that I think is a huge factor in being able to foster certain types of relationships because when you're in proximity, you're able to nurture those relationships. Also, I would say to piggyback off of that questions and how they always been like that. I feel you, I would say. High school, I didn't really keep in touch with too many people, and it's only until recently where those manifested again. And I am grateful for it because one of them was I consider her like one of my best friends from like high school. Not even actually middle school. Now that I'm thinking back, so I'm like, wow, that feels like ages ago. Gosh, damn, where does the years go by? But there, I would say even from high school, people that we hadn't kept in touch in for a while, but they then reached out and we were now able to continue to have a good relationship. And we're just like, wow, why did we even stop talking? Like, wow, how did that even happen? How did these relationships fizzle out? And we'll talk a little bit about that. I think sometimes it's just like proximity can be one. I think sometimes just life gets in the way, gets busy, but also realizing that my goal for 2025 was that I wanted to be more intentional with my friendships and nurture friendships. I also, what is it? Not just friendships, but I would say relationships as a whole, because one of the easiest relationships that was easy to maintain is my familial one. Now, the bond definitely fluctuated, because we're a tight-knit family, a little too tight-knit, I will say, for my liking sometimes. I love them. They are everything to me. Never will I ever say never, like never will I ever say that don't mean a lot to me. However, they can be a little, I would say, it can be overwhelming sometimes,
Yeah.
especially when you're trying to navigate all other relationships as well in the midst of like navigating your familial one. But I would say the proximity, or not even just being back home, has allowed me to nurture that relationship. I also realized being intentional with the times or the activities of what you're doing with certain relationships, it really means a lot. It's not just about being in the same household and that
Yeah.
like nurtures that relationship. It's about, okay, are we playing a game together? Are we watching a movie? Are we doing things that are engaging in ways that feel like, okay, we're both taking part and like building a relationship? I would say that a lot of my relationships have not always been the way that they are now, for sure not. I think Arshita put it best that like I wasn't always a mature person. We weren't always a mature people. We grew into who we are today. I made a lot of mistakes and I own up to those mistakes. I very much am grateful for the way that people have shown up to me in my life and how now I want to move forward and show up in that, I would say, in that light. We're always in the path of self-improvement, and part of that is your community. And relationships play a huge part into how you carry yourself, how you conduct yourself, how you also are able to bounce back.
One thing I was thinking about was like, oh, like where was that immaturity like when I was a kid? Like where was it stemming from?
Mm,
And I think I don't know if it was the same for you, but I felt like part of it was that things always felt personal and they weren't. I don't know if it was that like I just put so much of an importance on myself or I think that was a lot of it. Like I felt like if I didn't like something that my friends did, it was like a reflection on like me. And like
okay.
part of the maturity came from like understanding that everyone's their own person, they're gonna do their own thing. And it didn't that didn't develop for a while.
I like that. Yeah. I was gonna
And then like
say. Mm.
the other thing I was thinking about, like you mentioned like familial relationships and like on the topic of like have relationships always been like this? Like you talked about how coming back home and moving home has allowed you to like deepen your relationships with your family.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's true for me too, but I also think that there was a lot of growth in like understanding your family that came from like not
Yeah.
being there for a little bit. At least for me personally, it feels like when you're younger and when you're one of the elder children in your family, your parents like guinea pig to a certain extent. It's like their first time having a kid too. And so they might be making decisions that they think are the best based on what they know, especially given like you and I both have immigrant parents who like
Mm.
alongside navigating parenthood for the first time, we're navigating a lot of their first in
Yeah.
general. All that stuff is really frustrating when you're younger and then you leave and you get like thrown away and you also start to see like you see other people's relationships with their family. You also start to see like what your parents did to get you here.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that was another thing where like I experienced like a lot of frustration with my family. I'm pretty sure they experienced a lot of frustration with me. And I feel like that relationship also significantly changed due to that like understanding that kind of came to be, at least on my end.
No, I mean, I'm gonna hit on everything
Yeah.
because I think you put it beautifully. Taking it personal. that immaturity, I would say, from when we were younger. I do feel that where I maybe, I don't know why, I thought this is my world and you guys live in it because it's that way where everything felt so personal and everything felt like it was a reflection of me or my character or of my person. And I'm like, no, like therapy has helped a lot, I will say tremendously. And just talking to people and really opening up my mind and my heart, I would say. And I think my spirituality helped in that way as well, of being able to see things from a different angle and looking at it from like a bird's eye perspective of, hey, it's never just about you. It's never also just about them. It really is like there's so much to take into consideration in those moments. I think for me as well, I would say growing up, I had a lot of insecurities. If we're gonna go that way, we're gonna be vulnerable. And it felt in a way where it took things personal, but I also felt insecure. I don't know, maybe because that led me to act in different ways where I was more so people pleasing to one end and trying to appease to everybody and trying to, it was like a yes man. And I'm like, oh no, not now. That's a complete, I would say like what is it, 180 from who I am now. But then from there also I realized I also, because of my insecurities, I used to feel jealous to a certain extent of certain people. And I'm like, wow, that now I'm always preaching about community and preaching about girls being girls and about not wanting to be jealous of one another because I saw what that did to me when I was younger and how that affected my relationships, my personal relationships, even my family relationships. I mean, I would say my siblings and I, there's always this constant competition amongst one another, and that can create a certain like level of envy, jealousy, and I didn't want that. It then started turning into resentment, and I was like, what am I doing resenting my own siblings for? Like that's kind of crazy. Like I was like, okay, fam, we gotta take a step back. We need to reroute, okay? And to that with my relationships too, I was like, wow, these are such phenomenal people. Why am I feeling this way? What is it? Really had to take a look within myself and okay, do the work of attending to whatever it was that I feel that I was missing inside. And so tending to that little Pam of like, okay, what is it that you need? What are you feeling? Well, how can I tend to you without you feeling this way about others? And realizing that it was not about them, truth be told. It's about you. It's about how you feel about things. It's about how you react to things, not. And that also played a role in how I maintained my relationships and how I moved in my relationships. Um, and I mean, I would also say just situations, falling out within certain relationships led me to move differently. It also, there was a very pivotal moment, I would say, in my life where that altered how I saw trust. And I think that really did a big number on me. But also realizing I cannot allow that situation or allow that person to then affect how I move moving forward. I really realized it was never about them. Like, it really is, they kind of go back to like, maybe you are the common denominator in these situations. So what can we do to, I would always say like reconcile with that. That's where, journaling comes in, therapy, like all of the above. But I think also it's dependent on how you view things and how you work through it. I think those are what worked for me. That's not a remedy for everyone. And then Arshita, you were saying about familial relationships, being back at home and realizing that our parents are doing this for the first time as well. When I left for college, I think for the 2 years, because I had a weird, I would say, upbringing in my college years, I became an RA my senior year. So that was my first time. I always say I was like a freshman living with freshmen. So I was a senior, but I was a freshman. Let's go with that. Experiencing the college life while my freshmen were also experiencing it because I was an RA for a freshman dormitory. And then becoming a assistant special ed coordinator, which we talked about in previous episodes. I was also on campus for that year of my grad year. That changed, I mean, just my view of even my family, of like how I navigated that relationship and how, I don't know, I think maybe it gave me like a deeper appreciation or a deeper understanding. And I realized that a lot of other people, like a lot of other families, don't have that same family dynamics that my family and I have. We bounce back relatively quickly, I will say, but gosh, do we beef? Like Arshita knows. I'm always telling her about something is
There's
happening or
always, as soon
like
as I catch up, there's always something.
I'm like, please, guys, I just want peace. I just want peace and love. And like, can we just have that? But no, it's fine. It's okay. We'll take the dramatics for a little bit, no worries. I'll take the expressiveness because they have also taught me how to communicate and how not to react. And do they keep me humble? Okay, they will. I always say they clock me so quick, but that also realizing, I don't know, I think maybe Arshita, you feel this, where one being that they are immigrants, they are experiencing not only life for the first time, but they already had to experience life for the first time in their home countries. And now they're experiencing life in a whole new country where my mom had to adapt and learn the language. And so they did the best that they could absolutely could. Will I say that were there still mistakes? Yes. But we're human, and I'm not going to. I took that personal too. Oh my gosh, did I growing up? I took all of that personal. I was like, oh my gosh, I just like my mother. That was like the nicest way I'm putting it, okay? Because there were some strong feelings. But growing up and really like talking to other people, and that was through college, and even with Arshita, the amount of talks, the late night conversations that we've had, like I saw things differently, and I was like, wow, like I don't know, same way we talk about little Pam, we talk about little Arshita, like. I just see like my little mom. Like I see the little girl inside her. I see the little girl and even the little boy of my brother and my sister because they too are experiencing life. It gives me more like appreciation, understanding, and okay, Pam, don't react. You're looking at it personal right now. How can we look at it from a different angle? Because there's so much more to this. Two truths can exist at once. Always. So you really hit it on the nail for those two, I would say, because I don't know, I think a lot of people can feel that way too. Maybe in a day and age where like there's just so much happening, it really does feel like where it's personal.
It's also like it doesn't help that like you go
Hmm.
online and like regardless of the kind of relationship, everyone always wants it to like look perfect like online. Like you're I mean, we also post similar content to be fair. Not that we've had like a lot of bad experiences, but we've also had the harder conversations with each other.
Yeah.
And like I think that
Hmm.
also creates almost like an echo chamber where like everyone has the perfect family or everyone has the perfect
Hmm.
partner or everyone's like I don't know, dancing with their like girlfriends on the street of like some foreign country. And
But
like
that's
life doesn't
like,
always look like that, but that's all you see. So sometimes
yes.
it's not like you already don't feel great about your relationships. You might already feel alone in it. And then you go online and everyone's like living their best lives.
Right. It just exacerbates that feeling where you're just thinking where, I mean, for one, we always say social media is performative. And maybe
Yeah.
we don't play into that. We want to show, highlight, I would say, the good because I think in a world where like there's so much bad, I'm not gonna sit here and we're not gonna sit here to lie to you and say, yeah, everything is like sunshine and rainbows. There is a lot of bad. We understand that there's a lot happening within the real world. And I don't want to say bad, but I would say there's a lot. It's a very tumultuous time that we're going through. I think for any individual, any walk of life, there's a lot happening. It's a very transitionary era, for one would say. But to that, we would rather look at it through optimism or a lens where we can see the positive or at least highlight the positive and show those good to show the light, I would say, at the end of the tunnel. And then we have our episodes here. We talk about in our podcast like the challenges that we navigate, the conversations that we've had. I mean, those are daunting. I was gonna say, and nothing, there's a quote that like I will say has been maybe like my saving grace. There's a couple of quotes, but nothing good comes easy. And a good relationship, like any other any type of relationship, be it platonic, romantic, is not going to come easy because it takes work. It takes a buy-in from both. And Arshita and I have had our conversations where I'm like, okay, like I realize I'm taking things personal, or I'm taking things, and I realize it's my feelings. But I at least wanted to communicate them because it opens up that door to be able to see each other. And I always want to just be able to see one another. I feel like at the end of the day, as humans, we want to be able to be heard, we want to be able to be seen. And that's where maybe that stems from those feelings of taking it personal because maybe we don't feel seen or heard in that moment, or we aren't feeling like, am I not a person to be seen or to be heard? And I think that's where my insecurities like arose and whatnot. But I said, really, you need to start tending to yourself. I think that's in a later episode we could talk about like self-care and like really just implementing such hobbies for yourself to be able to like do right by you. Okay, you cannot just sit around and wait around. I would say it's making a conscious effort to also build those relationships and have those conversations that may be scary at the moment, but truth be told, I say that it has strengthened our relationship in a lot of ways where I see things differently. I'm like, oh my gosh, wait, like that's okay, I see where you're coming from. I see what you're saying and what you're doing. But social media, yeah, it doesn't help. I will say it's challenging. It is challenging navigating these relationships. And I mean, Arshita can also talk about challenges that she has like been through with navigating these relationships. I mean, we talked a little about it. Proximity is just one of like those challenges.
I do want to clarify before I was referring to emotional proximity.
Okay.
It felt like my relationships were shallow. Um,
Okay.
Again, partially because of my like how I was showing up in there, how much I
Mm-hmm.
trusted people, and also like how much I understood myself. I think.
Mm,
I think I
yeah.
was, like many kids in their youth, like trying to be someone without knowing who that someone was.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe it was like I just wanted to be successful or like I wanted to do all these things and I
Yeah.
wanted to like have a name or like something. Like I wanted to be something, I think. But I never really got like a clear image of what that was and I never really knew like the person I wanted to be. Like who do I envision like me being in terms of what I liked, my
Hmm.
personality, like my interests and all those things. And it's kind
Hmm.
of hard to like build any kind of relationship when you don't really know what you want out of it for yourself or from the other person. Um,
Yeah.
and so I think that was my like reference in proximity. I will say if we're moving into like challenges that we currently face in sustaining relationships, physical proximity is probably a big one. You can
Yeah.
develop a lot of emotional proximity, like in your conversations with people and acts of
Yeah.
service with them, and like things that can exist even when you're far apart. We're far apart right now. I have friends who are all the way in New York. I have friends in California. Um, hell, we have friends overseas for that matter too.
Yeah.
But it was obviously a lot easier with like some of the friends that I mentioned earlier, where like I'm friendly with them, but I haven't seen them in like a year maybe.
Hmm.
That was partially like facilitated. Wow, by the fact that we were on campus and like we could easily just go on like, hey, do you want to go to a cafe? Do you want to go study in the library together? Do you want to like meet at the gym? Do you want to come over to my
Hmm.
place?
I love that.
Do you
Sorry.
want to go like on a grocery run with me and we just like carpool or something?
Yeah.
Those are all things you can do when you're physically together and when you're like 40 minutes, an hour, a train ride, like a plane ride for that matter, away.
Yeah.
Like that's a huge impediment on being able to do that.
I agree. I mean, and thank you for the clarification because looking at it from like emotional proximity is a huge, I would say, you definitely, like I said, these conversations are always enlightening in every way possible because even looking at it from that angle, I'm like, no, yeah, I get what you mean because it's like how we were taking things personal. And then I think even now, like we were talking, like you were saying, like physical proximity, everybody's living their life. Everybody's trying to figure out their life. Which is why it has been difficult. Everybody's trying to either make it, trying to do it, and same way we have our right our jobs, other extracurriculars. I mean, we're tending to relationships in itself, and that's very broad, but there's a lot to that. Everybody else has that same, I would say, life, and it can be difficult to just align our schedules. Oh my gosh, imagine trying to get like 10 people like in the same room. It's difficult. I mean, a lot of the times it can be for festivities. It's why we have those moments, those functions where, be it for Christmas or any holiday that one celebrates, be it for, I would say, birthday celebrations. It's like those truly those moments where it solidifies their bond. And I think as we grow older, I would say that I like how Arshita put it, the emotional proximity. You are able to still sustain that relationship and keep in touch, be it through FaceTime, be it through just like sending, I don't know, like reels to one another, sending TikToks. We have our group chats on Instagram, and I'm not the best at reading them and sending
Yeah,
reels
Pam.
back, but like we're getting there. We're getting there. I saw some, okay, over the past couple days, but listen, listen, listen. This isn't about, attacking one another. We're here listening with like open hearts, open minds, like, and we're all
Yeah, you
about
could be listening to my
improving.
reels with open hearts and open
Yeah,
eyes.
yeah. I saw a few of them, We have our friend Camilla. She is hilarious. That girl is something else, I always like to say. We have our group chat and we're trying in that end, but I would say like being intentional and really like in different methods and different forms of being able to stay contact. And also, okay, we just had a cutesy little hangout. I would say we had a nice little dinner day where we did the challenge of what is it, of our accomplishments for the year of 2025. What can I say? Challenges, I would say that's like the biggest one. Also, like where do people meet you, or how far people are, how far they have met themselves to then be able to have a relationship with them or have a deep relationship. I like how you put, like you were talking about emotional proximity. How can I expect anything of anyone if I don't even know what I have the expectations for myself? I don't even know how do I want to show up as a person. And I realized that a lot of the times while I am maybe have done the work, I'm still doing the work or being conscious about that. Not everybody's on that same level or playing field. And you have to be okay with that. I would say it sucks to a certain end, but that's something I realized because maybe I'm wanting to be vulnerable and I can have these conversations, but people have not met themselves that way thus far. And having to be okay with that And I would say it's difficult. Also, just wanting to have like 30 different lives, and it's only one life that you can live. I'm like,
Yeah, I feel like I there was something I wanted to say about like another challenge, and it slipped my head entirely. Oh, the other big thing. So like I mentioned, like it was easier for people to stay in touch when you could like physically see each other like frequently. The
yeah,
other thing I will say is even in like a virtual environment, like catching up with people with all the like virtual tools that we have, like FaceTime or
mm,
social media. The other thing I see is that like it's just everyone's responsibilities have shifted now. Like my responsibilities have shifted. Everyone else's responsibilities have shifted. Like some people are in the stage of their life where they like are renting and they like have to work harder to like keep up with that. Some people are building out their families and their responsibilities have shifted there. So sometimes it's
yeah.
not even that we're not trying our best. It's just that things are a little different now. And I think not in like a call out way. It just means that when your responsibility shifts, your ability to commit to different things also shifts, and that's fine. But it's just
Mm,
a very real challenge in sustaining relationships long term. Also, you said like the 30 different lives one. It's just that also in the time that you spend apart from people that you work close with, like they're gonna change like emotionally and mentally. You're also gonna
mm-hmm,
change emotionally and mentally. Maybe it's like a way
mm,
that you guys aren't seeing eye to eye or like your personalities don't mesh anymore. And again,
you're
like
not
that's part
compatible.
of growth and transformation that happens at an individual level. And maybe when you do eventually revisit your like relationships later on after some time apart, you just find that it doesn't click the same way. And I think
Yeah.
that's like another challenge to like sustaining relationships. Like you might be expecting the person that you knew like a couple years or a couple months ago even, and they're just not that.
I would say you really put it beautifully in that end. I think responsibility shifting is a huge one because I find that to be one of probably the biggest, maybe challenges that I'm navigating as I just say life, right? Like you have different commitments, but it truly is like you verbalized it like in a really good way of priority shift, commitment shift, responsibility shifted, and it's also, I want to say, taking ownership of that when those relationships have shifted. I recently was telling Rashida that I visited a friend of mine who just gave birth. Congratulations to her, very happy for her. Motherhood looks amazing on her. But to me, I was like, wow, that is not a stage of life that I'm there yet. Like I am very much at the beginning stages, but being very honest as well of where I am right now with like, for example, like my boyfriend, and that is a responsibility. I realized that I was like, wow, relationships do take work, especially post grad. Maybe the stakes were lower, maybe before. I don't know for whatever reasons, or maybe it's just the person. It depends as well. But I realized that with my boyfriend, that was a responsibility. When you add now these other commitments, time is now taken away from you, right? And then also, how can you fit that in seamlessly? You want to be able to have like your own commitments or your own responsibilities in a way that you're still being attentive to them and you're putting in the thought and the foresight into these relationships in however way, but also being very real with yourself and being real where you're at, what is your capacity? Because sometimes you feel like you can take over the world. And I feel like that too. I'm like, yes, I'm Superwoman, but then realizing tomorrow I may not wake up with that same mentality or that same motivation to do so. And everybody's at different stages of our life. She put it beautifully how like her friend, I mean, she has a bridal party and that's like one of the relationships she's sustaining. And my friend recently got engaged and I'm like, oh my gosh, like congratulations. I'm here trying to figure out my next career. And I think that is like one of the priorities where at least for me, I'm like, okay, no, studying, making sure I'm networking and wanting to put my best foot forward in that end and realizing, like you said, it's different for everyone. I wanted to live in this little bubble where, like, oh no, like I can or I am the same person or we are the same people or we are who we are, but realizing that we are evolving and that changes with like everybody around you, surrounding you. Just even the new like friends that I have come to meet from being in my relationship as well. Because of his friends and everything. And now it's like, wait, we have couple friends. Like, we have like friends that we like hang out and we have double dates and like triple dates. And I'm just like, wow, like, this is new. This is different. And being honest with yourself as well. How are you still showing up and trying to be like, if it matters to you, if you truly want to keep putting in your best foot forward, how are you showing up? And what are you doing in order to make sure that you, I would say, put your best foot forward and show up for your friendship, show up for your relationship, showing up, and all these different responsibilities and commitments that you have. Because Arshita, listen, I was gonna say, Arshita, the amount of commitments this girl has, I'm always like in awe, and I love like her drive is something that is just inspiring. think I'm just like, yes, girl. She lives off I say like coffee and like what is it, fumes and hopes and dreams, but like in the best way possible.
I think that like brings us to like a pretty nice segue. We've been
Hmm.
talking a lot about like the challenges and issues and our experiences, like where relationships
Hmm.
have failed in this part of our life, but you also brought up like some points about the work that goes into sustaining relationships, and you and
Hmm.
I both have relationships that we're very happy in right now. Um, would you say you've like gone about that? A lot of that's like that internal work you mentioned, but are there other things that you do to like sustain relationships today?
Apart from making sure that I'm trying to watch the reels that are being set in the group chat. No, no, jokes aside, I realized that I tend to, I think maybe this is like the eldest daughter thing that you do, but like bottle up my feelings or bottle up what I'm going through. And then it's like until like later on, and then I'm like, oh wait, this happened. And then Arshita or even Camila, they're like, girl, what the hell? Like they're like, why didn't you say anything earlier? And I'm like, why do I do that? And I realize where it comes from, believe me. Like I said, one thing it's knowing where everything or why you do something, but then really the next step is taking the action. Um, and I think for me being more intentional, I remember I'm just like texting group chat, oh my gosh, like I wanted to share those good news with my community, with my people. Be it that even if it is I hear of like, oh my gosh, like a certain song. I remember Camilla sent me a song and it was like, oh, like I know you're in your soft girl era, like I want to send you this song. And I'm like, that's so like things of that nature where even if it is just in general being able to see each other in person, being that also we have to be real, the time is of the essence. There's so limited time and we are navigating these priorities and whatnot. At least for me being I know I say being intentional and I keep saying being intentional, but what does being intentional look like? And I think in that way, being intentional is okay, my friends are sending me TikToks or sending me reels. Hey, let me take the moment to look at them and watch them and like respond to them. Be it that it is like just an emoji, but showing that I am seeing what they're seeing. Be it that we were talking about Galentine's, or I think I've mentioned it. Hey, I want to do something for Galentine's. Like, let's gather the troops, let's gather the girls, and let's do something, and we can plan something in that end to find a way. I think Arshita's like the best at being able to gather everyone in like, and I always say like in one room. It's her hosting abilities. I always say that. So like that's like one of her special superpowers. But anywho, just finding also people that have that equal buy-in, I would say, of like they want to be able to maintain those relationships with you. This is also what I do. I had a shared album like for my cousins because sometimes we don't have the time to be able to see one another or things of that nature. But what I did, and I remember I did this actually my grad year, I said, hey, I think I saw it on TikTok. Let's create a shared album. We have all the cousins in there, and then we just vlog, or we take a picture about our day. This is what we did. Oh, hey, and then we just comment. And I think that was like one thing where we started doing, and I just started seeing all these different things that my cousins are doing that we didn't get to talk about maybe when we were in person or we forgot or whatnot. Because also in the midst of all the craziness, there's so much happening. But hey, like this was a way that we were being intentional and we wanted to still show up and be connected with one another. I would say, what is it? Going to the gym, including them in activities that you're already involved in. Like Arshita and I, we were holding each other accountable. We were back in college, okay? Like we would go and we would have like our nights and everything. And for me, doing that with my friends, I remember with my one friend that I was mentioning back from when I met her in middle school I was like, okay, let's do a gym session. Hey, we see each other and we're holding each other accountable. And but I would say even more if I'm doing an activity or if I'm like sometimes I like to I have what's it called? Oh my gosh, like the I do my little like drawings or like sometimes when I'm junk journaling, I'll FaceTime. I'll like FaceTime, be it like a friend of mine or whatnot. I'm like I'm having that moment where I'm like journaling, so let me also FaceTime. Or if I'm doing laundry, oh my gosh, body doubling is like the best, okay? Like for one, all of a sudden, I'm so productive. And so I try to really do that within all my relationships, I would say, finding a way to incorporate them already in my life and things that I'm already doing, and also finding ways to incorporate or that they incorporate me in their lives. I don't know, that's being intentional. It's not just like, well, you want to spend time with yourself. How can you also invite other people? To build a village, to build a community, it takes effort, guys. So you need to be willing to make that effort, I would say. I'm like rambling, but like Arshita, please like take the floor of like how you have been able to maintain these relationships in this era, I would say, in this transitions.
I would say a lot of what you said does like it does feel like very like familiar to me too. I feel like some of that does translate into what I do. one thing is I am the one who sends all those TikToks. Uh, I wanna I want to point out the fact that I usually send TikToks to my friends when I see something that reminds me of them. And so for me, and I don't just do this to Pam, I do this to a lot of my friends. And like the whole thing is like for me is just like I saw this, I thought of you, and I sent it to like no, this is not at Pam, this is just at anyone. I sent it to you because I'm thinking of you right now, and I miss you, or like I don't know, like it's like a little like I care about you. And even
Hmm.
if I didn't like talk to you or I didn't see you for a while, I care about you and I see you and I like think of you and you hold like space in my life even if you don't physically hold space in my life right now. So
Yeah.
that's one thing. I'm really annoying with them and I know that, but I wouldn't change anything. So you guys are just gonna have to deal
Please
with it.
don't. No,
Yeah.
girl, I'm gonna watch them.
Another thing I do, and like we've talked about like the importance of like physically seeing people, and I agree that like when like we're physically together, whatever the like capacity, like whatever in whatever capacity it is, like it's always like magical. And I think it's like what you said about like making the most of that time together, making sure that like you're really present, even if it's like if you're together for like a 30-minute dinner or you're together for
Mm-hmm.
hours. The time, obviously, it's nicer to have like more time with your friends, but like the duration of the time doesn't matter as much as like what you do with it. So I think like approaching the spaces that I go to like physically with my friends with like that kind of energy and that kind of mentality is really
Yeah.
good. I think to like the friends that we have sustained relationships with, time is always like a foreign concept. Like everything feels like it happened recently, but it also happened like a million years ago.
Yeah.
And so just mentally keeping note of like how frequently I've seen one of my friends is really important for me. I feel like we have a friend named James and in my head I like we hung out with them recently.
Yeah.
And like when I had texted them, I was like, it's been like a month since we've caught up. And like I feel like I routinely see them at least once a month for something.
Oh.
And so like doing that with like my relationships, making sure that like they're not fizzling through the cracks, especially the ones that like we are particularly close in. Like
Mm-hmm.
just I don't know, like almost like a calendar of like friendships. I also used to do this
Yeah.
back when like I felt like my circle was a little wider. It was a little harder to like maintain, so if that's helpful for you. I used to put like things in my calendar, like just little like reminders of like text this person. And I would like set them to like repeat every few weeks or every like few months because I feel like you get so like bogged down with life. That's like part of what we were talking about.
Yeah.
And so when you have like a lot of people that you want to check on, a lot of people in your village, sometimes just
Yeah.
having a reminder like, hey, like you haven't texted this person in a minute, like ask them how they're doing.
I need
Like
that.
circle on their story if they posted something like a thing like that. So that's been pretty helpful historically for me. I feel like yeah, I think that's been like my top three. Like really tracking like how long it's been. So that's not just like a
Yeah.
foreign concept and you realize like 6 months later you haven't spoken to this person. Trying to utilize the tools that you do have to communicate with people virtually and again like making those interactions like meaningful.
Yeah.
And also like bringing in things from your last interaction with a person.
Oh.
I think that's been particularly helpful. I looked to like two examples. One, I remember this was such a long time ago. So we have a friend named Mary, and Mary and James had both come over to my apartment once after we had gone out for dinner, or I think it was something. They had come out back to my apartment, and I guess we were chilling in my apartment for a little bit, and I we ultimately like put on Emily in Paris, and Mary and I were like bonding over the fact that this is like one of our like go-to brain rot shows, and this was back in like the fall semester, so it's been a minute. And recently, the season five for Emily in Paris came out, and one of the first things I did was I texted Mary. I was like, "Mary, did you watch season five?" Like, and she hasn't watched it like all of it yet. But I was like, "You have to text me when you like finish an episode or like when you finish the season. We got to debrief about it." And so like bringing
Yes.
in things like that. I remember with one of our friends, Amanda. She's the one who's getting married right now, and literally, I don't see Amanda more than like once a month. Unfortunately, she just lives very far away from me.
Mm.
But months ago, she like had mentioned that like, oh, like I'm getting more into like bourbon drinks. Or like me and like my partner, like I've been really enjoying these. And my Christmas gift to her was like a bourbon smoke set. And her reaction was like, I can't believe you remembered that I had talked about like she was like, I talked about the bourbon thing once.
No, that's so sweet. But like that, it's intentional. Like, I'm like, that's very beautiful. Oh my gosh. I know Amanda was so geeked out about
No,
it.
she literally
Like,
she was like texting me. She was like, I used this for the first time today. She was like, I loved it. Like she was like, I have pictures. She was like, I'm gonna send them. Like
oh my gosh, it's amazing.
yes. I feel like that's been another thing of like don't let your interaction like start and end with like the one time you
No,
hang out. Like
yeah.
I think I don't know, when you bring like things from the past, you also kind of like bring in that feeling. that you had when you were with them last time. So
Hmm.
I think even when you can't be together physically, like you still remind each other of like what you felt in that moment that you were together. And
Hmm.
like it helps make the distance like a little shorter almost. So I think
No,
that
yeah.
that's really nice. I also like giving gifts to like in general to my friends. It's like I don't know if you like heard the thing about like penguins like giving pebbles to like people like the like other penguins. I feel like that's what I like. I pebble with my friends.
In the best way possible. Oh my gosh, wait. She did this like beautiful gift for Christmas because we were she was my Secret Santa. Oh my gosh, amazing. So yes, she knows all about the pebbles. Okay, that girl is a penguin, like essentially.
So I feel like that, like pebble with your friends a little bit, like whether it's like
Hmm.
virtually through the TikToks or like when you hang out together, like bring like a little
Yeah.
something that you guys can like carry with each other. Like a little visual reminder that you are in each other's lives. I've been like
Yeah.
seeing these TikToks and reels. One of them was literally that they're not in my room, but they're in my room, and it's like they'll like go through like all the letters and cards and like things that they've saved from their friends.
No,
And so
so
like that kind of energy, like always like surrounding yourself with that love, especially through the distance, I think helps keep those kinds of relationships alive, like at least for me.
I love that. I love how you said bringing in like the last interaction into like the new interaction because it that to me not only does it show like I love I think my word of the year is like intentionality for some reason. But being like intentional, but like you said, it's really quality over quantity and like
Yeah.
that meshes truly very well with what you're saying. Hey, maybe we may have only 30 minutes or an hour or whatever amount of time. But being able to then, when you bring in that like previous interaction or you bring in those moments, like it truly shows also that you're seeing the person, you're hearing the person, and it's like, this is valuable to me and I care about you. I care about you as a person. I care about our relationship. Like taking it all in of like how I want to also show up and I would say show up for my friendships for sure. Show up for my relationships, be it not just friendships, because you can even take that in the same breath with like colleagues at work. Like, oh, like if they're asking, they're talking about their weekend, and sometimes like my colleagues is like, oh, like what you doing on the weekend, and then like following up, like, oh, how did the game go? Because I remember one of them was talking about a
Yeah.
hockey game that they were gonna go to. So just in that end, because it really is. I think as people, we just want to be seen and just knowing that, like, hey, I hear you. I remember, like,
Yeah.
you're
I also
important.
I was thinking back to like one more thing, and this one's like a little
Hmm.
bit more practical. I think just meeting your friends halfway and like it sounds like something that we would do naturally. And
Yeah.
like we do a lot of that. But something I think about like a lot is like I have friends who like have like different housing and like different economic situations right now. And like I want to hang out with them in person. Like that's not something that they can like afford to do right now.
Mm.
And like I feel like they feel bad that they can't do that or like they're constantly
Yeah.
apologizing when like I ask them out. And so like I try to meet my friends halfway in that sense. Like if I find like a free activity for us to do, I'm like, hey, like let's do this together. Like it's gonna be like $5 maximum. Let's do that. Or
Yeah.
it's gonna be like free. Or like if I know a friend really can't do it, I'll just be like, you know what, like don't even sweat it. Like let's make something cute at home. Like
Yeah.
yeah, like meeting
I
your
love
friends halfway
that.
in the sense that like you won't always know everything that's going on in your friends' lives. Like that's also on them to like share that with you.
Hmm.
But like I think the whole thing about you said that about intentionality and like whatever you do know about your friends and whatever you can sense that they're
Hmm.
going through, like trying to meet them halfway and not just doing like the typical things to hang out with them or to like what you think is gonna be fun.
Yes, being creative, I think it's we say ingenuity, if anything. I like how you put it, meeting people halfway, because I think that sounds like common sense, but truth be told, it's like you have to be more, I think, practical. And I would even, I think, like, I don't know, go a step further, is that go out of your comfort zone, of being able to, hey, maybe this is something that you always are doing or you want to do, but maybe there's a separate activity that they find interesting and that they want to any like I don't know, I would say like my cousin, right? She was saying, let's go to a rock climbing gym. And I've never been. And I'm like, you know what? But yeah, like you want to spend time with me, I want to spend time with you. Let me meet you halfway in that sense. Like I'm gonna try something new. Let's
Yeah.
do it. So like Rashida's saying, like also being very conscious. I wouldn't say know how to read the room, but knowing how to be there for your friend. I think like it's a little bit of both of being able to read not your friend and you're not supposed to discern them or read them as a person, like just being able to kind of distinguish, like, okay, maybe they're feeling certain ways, or because of these their situation, how can I be there for them? It doesn't always have to be also an expensive or luxurious type of hangout, guys. Like you can create the best memories. Sometimes I really love how she was saying, finding other alternatives that there are so many situations that are happening. I think of it just being able to be creative in the sense of like
Yeah.
what can you do with your friends? I mean, even just like exploring like a new town. Like Rashida and
Yeah.
I did that where she took me I we explored each other's cities in a way.
Yeah.
And we were just like walking around downtown, like seeing what's going on, seeing the sights. And to me, that was so beautiful. We were just like, we went to the museum. Oh my gosh, gorgeous. Like the Princeton Art Museum. Oh my gosh, I need to go back, please. Not the point, but I really love how you put that. It was a very beautiful way of like meeting your friends halfway. I think that's what friendships is about. I think it's
Yeah.
about you're not just putting yourself first, or it's like just only you you're thinking about your relationships is like looking also at the other person and seeing, I think you said this really as well, Arshita, is like we are very, I guess, like of service to others. How can we show up for people? So that really does translate, I think, very well as well of like how can we be of service? How can we help? Like I always like to give out even just like ideas.
I also, I'm gonna add one more.
No,
Like
please.
what you were saying, kind of like you actually did inspire that. I think being aware of your friends' goals and helping them get there is another thing. I think you're the one who posted the TikTok about like no jealousy, no competition, just two girls like being something along those lines.
Yes.
That's so true. Like I feel like
Yeah.
I don't know, your success in life doesn't need to like be determined by your friends' like success in life. You guys can succeed together.
Yeah.
Um and like we're a lot of us are like learning more about like like girls supporting girls and like that kind of energy, but like not all of us are like there just yet.
Yeah.
Or like maybe we don't have friendships where that like reciprocity kind of exists.
Hmm.
But I think like knowing your friends' goals and knowing like how your unique like capabilities and like your
Yeah.
network or your skills or like what you're seeing online, like how you can help them get there also goes a long way because like you get to uplift each other. And like I don't know, it's another way like where I feel like a lot of my friends and I like yes, some of us have like similar goals and some of us don't. And sometimes it feels like that creates a gap because like your values, your like, priorities and like things like that they
Hmm.
shift and they don't match up always. But like knowing your friends' goals and like helping like each other get to them is another
Yeah.
way that you can build that commonality regardless of whether that's like with a friend that you've had for a while or like a friend that you're trying to develop a relationship with.
Yes, I always say, because yes, 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 everything like Arshita hits it like the best way possible. Where I feel like I'm teetering around and she's like right there, hits a nail in the coffin. Where because we're being of service to others, where I want to see my girls like grow. I want to see my girls like do the absolute best. Like I'm always like cheering them on. If I hear, for example, like what is it? If they're because my friend she was recently on a work trip and even Arshita as well. I'm like, okay, how's it going? Like what's happening? Like I think just giving that encouragement as well of like knowing that you remember that they have something that they are taking on this like project or whatever the case may be, checking in on that. I would say even Arshita has done that where I'm like, hey, like how have you found certain opportunities? And just being able to be open and honest about those conversations because in a world where there's so much competition and jealousy, and I think everybody's just trying to one up one another and like use one another and tear each other down. I'm like, why? I'm always talking about building a village, building a community because like, what do you have to lose? I'm sorry. Like, from not doing that, to me, that just seems so. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's just the people that we are, okay? Because I understand it. Sometimes I can't understand it, but sometimes I try to. But to me, that's so much more important about, like, I want to see my girls be successful because that brings such joy and happiness to me. Like, to me, like, when I see, like, Arshita doing well and everything, you can see the smile on my face. I'm like, Arshita, I'm so excited for you. I think you also want to have a discernment of who I would say good-hearted people are and good, kind people are because those are the ones that you want to have in your circle because you know that you also want to be able, it's not like who you know or what you know, but sometimes it's like it could be really like maybe you know someone that it may not be for you, but that can be a great person for your friend, for you to refer, for you to just get in contact with. Truly is, it's like sometimes you are just a link. And I think that is really like you just play such a important pivotal role as you being the link.
I think we're at a good place to like wrap up this letter. I think unless do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I mean, if you have any other examples that you want to provide, I also want to hear you. I mean, girl, you've been providing so many great tips. I'm like, yes, Rashida, eat it.
Yeah, no, I think that's what I have off the top of my head for now. We can always like
Mhm.
revisit it at anything, and that's part of like also spending time to like reflect on like what we share with each other.
Yeah.
But if we've got nothing else for today, we're signing off.
Yours truly. And
And Arshita.